follows the night. Surely the sky turns to blue. Oh, hi, I didn't see you there. Welcome back to the Mitten Players. I'm your host, Tim. And don't mind me, I'm just getting ready to go home for spring break. Now I know what you're thinking. Tim, why are you filming an episode when you could be spending time doing the opposite of just that? Well, technically, yeah, that's what I'm doing most of my spring break, but this episode's a treat. We're going homeward bound. Homeward bound, what? We're going homeward bound. Hometown bound. You get the picture. On this episode, I had the opportunity to interview Madalyn McHugh, a Caro, Michigan native and New York-based actress and songwriter. Since 2019, McHugh has performed over 400 plus cabaret performances across the country, with music by Carole King, Billy Joel, Dolly Parton, and others. With a bachelor's in arts degree in music from Saginaw Valley State University, her repertoire spans from musical theater, opera, pop, country, and contemporary Christian genres. Notable achievements include her Nashville studio album Stepping Stone and her opening for Kevin Bacon. Madalyn McHugh recently co-created the pop band McHugh Girl, with original music available on all streaming platforms.
Musical theater as a career has been just the past several years for me. Theater in general has been in my life since I was a kid, doing community theater. In Caro, I did some community theater in Bay City, and I've always performed. Pursuing it as a career was during my senior year of college. So I went to college to study opera, actually, and I was planning to go to New York City to be an opera singer. And my senior year of college, I did My Fair Lady, and I was Eliza Doolittle, and I loved it. And I started to listen to different musical theater soundtracks to different shows, and I just really fell in love with it. And I did a Broadway residency program my senior year of college in New York City, and I just decided this is what I want to do. So I kind of switched from my opera route more towards musical theater my senior year of college, but I've always performed since I was a little girl, and it's always been a big part of my life.
That was going to answer my next question. Actually, this was definitely something that you wanted to do as a career. Like, this was the moment that you knew what you wanted to do when you were growing up.
Oh yeah, definitely. My family was in a band together. My dad wrote contemporary Christian gospel music, or bluegrass rather. And I was 12 when we started performing there, and I sang in church when I was 7. So I always knew that I wanted to sing. I didn't know that I wanted to do theater forever. I've sung since I was 7. So I've always known for sure I'm going to be a singer. In what arena, I didn't necessarily know that I was going to go to New York City or that I was going to focus on musical theater. But as an art, I've always known that I was going to be an artist.
So you graduated from Saginaw Valley, correct?
I did, yes.
What was the musical theater program like for you at that time?
So I actually didn't do the musical theater program. I majored in music. So I was a part of the music department, and I minored in theater. So I don't know if when I was at SVSU, if they had a musical theater program. I'm pretty positive they do now, but I took a musical theater classes. So my main focus in college was the voice. So, and I teach voice now. So I learned the in and outs, the anatomy of the voice, how to sing in a lot of different styles. So I actually really didn't study musical theater. All of my experience with musical theater has been outside of college.
Gotcha.
And I've done a lot with it now, but really the most musical theater experience knowledge that I received was when I did a program called Open Jar in New York City. And that was the end of my senior year of college. And that's what really started my career, was Open Jar. But I didn't do the musical theater program. I was in the music department at SVSU.
Gotcha. While we're already on the topic in terms of different musical theater programs, could you tell us a little bit about Open Jar and your experience with it?
Sure. Open Jar is a Broadway residency program. So it's amazing. It's an NYC based program, and the instructors are all either current Broadway actors, choreographers, directors, or dancers. So you're learning from, it's an intensive program. It's a 2-month residency, and you live in New York City. You have classes every day, dancing, singing, acting classes, and it's from the best of the best in the business. It's like you throw yourself into the Broadway world and you really see, okay, what are these actors doing and how did they get to where they are and what do I have to do? So that's what I learned in Open Jar is how do I live in New York City? How do I work in New York City? And how do I audition in New York City? Who do I learn from? Where do I take dance class? And you just, Open Jar really teaches you how to integrate yourself into that industry. It was so incredible and monumental for me in my career.
So you're learning all of the tips from the best, really.
Absolutely. Yeah. You're learning from the best of the best, and they kind of take you under their wing and they say, here's how you audition. They explain equity, non-equity, chorus auditions. There's just so much to know when you get to New York City. And it's hard to really comprehend it all when you're not there. So you learn it in school, and I didn't learn it in school because I didn't study musical theater. So I really needed that training. But you learn the terms, you learn the lingo, you learn New York. I didn't even know New York City. I had never been to New York City before that. So you learn how to be in that world, which is, I loved it. It was incredible. You take all of the knowledge that you've had in college, whatever you studied. People studied different things, all artist related, but either I studied opera, some people studied musical theater, some people were theater, some people were dancers. So you learned all three arts: dancing, singing, and acting.
Is there any advice you would give to your younger self?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah. There's a lot of advice in terms of just life that I would like to give to my younger self, but in terms
Right.
of my career, I would say no dairy to my younger self. No sugar and no dairy. I would say to my younger self, if there isn't the opportunity that you are envisioning, create it. Because you have to take yourself to the next level if that opportunity isn't sitting in front of you. So I grew up in a small town, and a lot of times I think people will think that just because I came from a small town, there's not as much opportunity here, but that's not true. You can sing anywhere you want to sing. And so much of the time, people are willing to work with you. And I practiced this when I was younger. I would, for instance, at SVSU, if I thought they did a production of Grapes of Wrath, which is not a musical, and I thought that would be so cool if there was music. So I would think of these ideas, and I would get a little nervous sometimes because I would think I really believe in myself and I think that's a great idea, but I don't know who exactly to present it to, if they're going to go for it. But I usually would go for it. I would tell my younger self, always go for it. What's the worst thing that could happen? Somebody could say, no, I don't like your idea. Not going to happen. Okay.
It never hurts to think outside the box on terms of
Yeah,
that, really.
exactly. So I went to the theater department and I said, I know that I'm not a theater major. I know I'm a music major, but I saw that you're doing Grapes of Wrath. I think I could add some music to make it just a different vibe. And they loved it. They said, okay, let's do it. And it was part of my curriculum then. So most of the time, and same thing in Caro, so many times throughout high school, throughout college, I would think, it'd be really cool if I had my guitar and a sound system on the courthouse lawn or at the farmer's market or wherever. And most of the time, when you find the right people to talk to, people are on board. So to my younger self, trust your gut, trust your artistic intuition, because um it's it's right. There's not a right or wrong answer to art. If you are an artist and you really believe in yourself and you think that would be so cool if that could happen, just make it happen. You find the right people to talk to,
Mhm.
work with them, explain your idea, and it it'll come to life. So always trust your artistic intuition.
What have been some of your highlights throughout your theater journey so far?
Well, that's a good question too. Um, I loved My Fair Lady. My Fair Lady was a big turning point for me. That was at Bay City Players. It was directed by Leeds Bird, who is absolutely incredible, and Kevin Cole was music director. And it was a turning point for me because that was the first time in my adult life that I had a lead role, and it was pretty challenging. So I did it and I loved it. So that was a big, big turning point for me in my confidence in musical theater too, because my whole life, my whole upbringing, I sang country music, contemporary Christian music, folk, and pop. So that was my wheelhouse. That was my comfort zone. Musical theater was not really. I could sing it, and I would never say no to singing musical theater, but I didn't really know musical theater at that time. So
Right.
it was a little scary. It was like, you have the lead role in My Fair Lady, but that was the first big role that I had. So um, that changed a lot for me. And right after that, I got accepted into Open Jar, and then my career started, my musical theater career. So that's a big highlight, is My Fair Lady.
Would you mind giving us an insight on your band McHugh Girl and how that's going?
Yeah, definitely. So McHugh Girl is a band that my sister Mackenzie and I started, and it's all original music. She writes the music. She's an incredible songwriter. And we started that, let's see, 2020. I think it was 2020, either 2019 or 2020. Um, and we recorded our debut single, which is called Ex-Boyfriend, and we released that on all streaming services. And we did it virtually because this was during the beginning of the pandemic. So
Mhm.
we worked with studio musicians in Nashville, actually, which was really cool. Um, and we went back and forth on the phone discussing with them what we would want uh, for music, and we would explain the vibe we wanted, the sound we wanted, the instruments we wanted, and the Nashville studio musicians would then go to their studio and record, and then they'd send us something and they'd go, what do you think about this? So it took a really long time because it was virtual, because due to the
Mhm.
pandemic. But um, that's how it started. And then mostly McHugh Girl has performed in Michigan. So my sister is moving with me in August to New York, actually. So we'll perform more in New York City. But yeah, we perform at different in this area. We've performed in Bay City at different locations, Winona Park, or any bar, restaurant kind of situation, fair, festival, those kinds of things. We'll perform our own music, but we're gonna move to New York City together in August and focus on our band.
Any plans for that as well? Like, are you planning on releasing any new songs in the near future?
Yeah, definitely. So I'm about to go to New Hampshire to do a show. And then after that, when we get to New York, we will be able to focus on recording. And my sister has, I don't know the exact number, but hundreds of songs. So um that she's written over the years. She's been writing since she was 8, and
Right.
she's 25. So she's got a lot of music. And we'll be able to really, she's been doing her own thing. She's a writer. She's been doing her own thing, and I've been doing my own thing with theater. And so when we come together in New York, we'll really be able to focus on recording and performing together. So that'll happen in August.
That is definitely exciting for sure.
Yes, it is. We're both very excited.
Speaking of New York, with the Tony season come and gone this past weekend, Did you get the chance to watch it at all?
I didn't, but I've seen a bunch of clips of Ariana DeBose hosting, and I love her. So
I got music, I got my dance. 'Cause the world keeps spinning round and round, and my heart's keeping time to the speed of sound. I was lost till I heard the drums, then I found my way. 'Cause you can't stop the beat.
What are your top 3 favorite musicals currently running on Broadway right now?
I haven't seen this, but I have some friends in this musical, and I would love to see the Michael Jackson musical. Company, I love Company. And
Saw some of that last night.
there's a lot of amazing people. There's also, this isn't musical theater, but POTUS. Have you heard of that? It's on Broadway
I
right
did,
now.
yeah. That was also mentioned last night at the show.
I'm a big fan of Julianne Hough, and that's how I saw it on Instagram about the show. But I had a friend who just went to see that show, and they said it was so empowering, and they were just really uplifted after seeing that show. So I would love to see that one. I don't think I've seen most of the current Broadway shows because I haven't been there in so long. I mean, there's Dear Evan Hansen or Hamilton, all of those, of course.
Do you have any dream roles?
Yes, definitely. Let's see. I've never been in Once, the musical, and I really want to play Girl. Do you know that musical?
Once?
It's kind of a folk style musical, and it's really popular in regional theater right now. And the main role, that the female role, plays the piano, and it's an actor musician show where the actors all play the instruments. So I would really love that. My biggest dream is Carole King in Beautiful. That's my biggest dream role right now. I'm really trying to manifest that. I'm a big believer in manifestation and working hard and believing you can do anything. So I'm really hoping for Carole King someday. But let's see. Once, the girl's name is just Girl. She doesn't have a character name. But Once, and then Carole King, and Elphaba. Elphaba is always a dream. I would say those are my 3 dream roles.
So you've been a part of the Florida Studio Theater since 2019. How would you describe the experience?
Amazing. That was my first, I've done 3 shows with them now, but that was my first professional theater gig. I've worked professionally in the music industry for a long time, but that was my first professional theater gig. And I call it my theater home now, because I really developed a great community of mentors and artists and performers from Florida Studio Theater. I really love working there. And it's Sarasota, so it's gorgeous. And usually when I'm there, it's during the winter time. So I'm missing the Michigan and the New York winters for Sarasota.
At least you get that more warmer weather instead of that bitter cold that's over here.
Exactly.
Could you tell us about your recent show, Friends in Low Places?
Friends in Low Places was a country music cabaret. So a cabaret, for people who may not know the difference between musical theater and cabaret, a cabaret is a show where you are interactive with the audience, or you can be. So in musical theater, you don't break what's called the fourth wall. If you're seeing Dear Evan Hansen, for example, and somebody yells out in the audience, I love this song, you're not going to respond to them because you're in your own world. You're painting a picture of the show, of the setting, of the story, and you have an audience, but you don't break that fourth wall. You don't communicate with the audience. When I was doing Friends in Low Places, if somebody yells out from the audience, I love this song, I can respond to them. I can go, hey, me too. It's more like a concert vibe. It's scripted.
Right.
But you make it more of a natural entertainment concert kind of vibe. So it was a country music cabaret, and it was newer songs to that audience. So that audience is it's a retired community. So a lot of them are in their, I don't know, 60s, 70s, 80s. So they know and love Johnny Cash, George Jones, Willie Nelson, the older country music. This show was more contemporary for that specific audience. So Tim McGraw, Faith Hill, The Chicks, we did some Dolly Parton. There was a good variety. It was a really, really fun show. And I grew up singing country music, so I knew a lot of these songs.
What other lessons has music taught you?
Music has really taught me to completely be myself. Music, I always say music is, I have a lot of people that are there for me, but you can't always rely on people. You can always rely on music. So music is always there for me. And I have learned that I always want to be there for the music. So I always give my all and my best that I can to the music. And it's taught me that I can interpret it in so many different ways. And it's allowed me to express who I am by performing it. So I love to hear a new piece of music, write a new piece of music, and have endless possibilities of how that specific piece of music could be performed. And in doing so, I have really learned a lot about myself, because you express yourself in different ways when you're performing. So music has taught me a lot about myself as I go through my 20s, which, you know, you change in your 20s, and I've been performing throughout all of my 20s. So it's taught me a lot about who I am as a, not just an artist, but as a person.
Can you tell us where we can find you on social media?
Yeah, absolutely. My Instagram name is Maddie_MCQ, and that's my personal music. And then if you want to see McHugh Girl, it's at McHugh Girl Music, and you can hear McHugh Girl anywhere that you stream music. So Spotify, Apple Music, Pandora. And we have some songs that we haven't released on streaming services that are on YouTube. So I'm on YouTube, McHugh Girl is on YouTube, and anywhere you stream music.
We'll be sure to link that in the description afterwards.
Thank you.
Haven't even met me yet, so I'll pop a VHS in and slip a little pink dress on and dance in the